Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends, and thanks for tuning in today. Welcome back to the Pursuing Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Erin Bradley, and if it's your first time, welcome aboard. I've got my old friend here, Amrita Kurana, who's got the most incredible story and strategy. You guys, if you are a real estate agent or a mortgage lender, just buckle up. This is going to be such an incredible interview. I have been friends with and following along Amrita's journey for so long that I just had to have her on the show because she is a wife and a mom and a leader in her community and a top producing real estate agent. She's an investor, she's a speaker. She created a strategy that is just making waves in her real estate business and in her community right now, which is called RDR, Repair, Design, and Reach. And I just think it's so brilliant that I had to have her on the show to share. But more than anything, she's just kind of an inspiration because she's somebody who is constantly learning. She's always taking action. She's always improving upon the way she does her business. And I've just been kind of an innocent bystander inspired by you for many years, Amrita. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. I'm kind of embarrassed and humbled. That's a big intro for little me.
Oh, please, it's not. It's you are very impressive. And I think that in a short amount of time we have together, there's just so much to unpack. So let's kind of start just a brief background. What's your journey been like? And especially because I know that you've been such an innovator in recent years and in your business in general. And I think that's what is so critical as we're recording this in 2025 is that I've watched you just continue to show up and like I said, just learn and implement and innovate and add more value to your community and your clients. And so I think there's so much that the listeners can garner, but give us like a little story about the background and any highs, lows, and everything in between that's brought you to where you are today.
I previously was in the marketing world at the New York Times on the business side. I worked in the operations department, spent a decade there. Not really satisfied with my role, but it was a great company, a great job. It paid the bills. I got a check every other week. Like it was consistent. It was safe and it was good. And it was, of course, again, a reputable company. But as time passed, I would realize how mundane it was or how unsatisfied it was for my soul. So when I got to a point where I was done having my kids, I decided, I need to figure out what's next. So I've been in this department, I've been doing the same thing for 10 years because it's a great, safe situation. But what's next? And I decided I was going to go into entrepreneurship. I was actually going to go and open up a daycare. I had partnered with my kids' daycare owner and said, listen, I want to open up a location. Do you want to partner with me? Do you want to open up a second location? And she's like, yeah, let's go. And we were basically on board. I started meeting with her, understanding what I need to do, building out the financial model, found a location. And then one of my really good friends was like, Amrita, you should look into real estate. And I was like, oh, oh yeah. Real estate is cool too, because I'm an investor. I was an investor. I picked up my first property when I was in college, thanks to my uncle. And I was like, oh yeah, real estate is really cool. I thought about it before, but never really pursued it because I have a full-time job. And all of a sudden it was like the brakes were on. And I was like, okay, now how do I switch out of this situation I'm in? I got this woman who I'm partnering with. I've been picking her brain. We have a location that we're waiting for an answer on. But real estate, I think, is a better move. And I'm a woman of faith. So nothing guides me more than that divine light. So I talk to God all the time. And I basically picked up the phone and called him and said, I need a solution. My heart is pointing in that direction for real estate, but I'm so far deep into this. We went to a location. I need you to either close the door on the daycare or close the door on real estate and keep the daycare door open. And whatever doors remains open for me, I will know is your way of telling me that that's where I need to go. Sure enough, like literally 2 days later, I get a call from the church we had went to go visit and wanted to rent the space for the daycare. Everything was fine. They were like, we're going to do this. We'll send you the paperwork. Let's get going. No realtor, no nothing. It was just, we went and walked in. We walked in and had a plan of the layout of the daycare. Like that's how far I went. They called me 2 days later after my prayer and were like, I'm sorry, we've decided not to lease the unit. We're not renting out the church. And I was like, you're telling me I need to go to real estate. Yes, that's what I want.
That's awesome.
And that's how my life works, right? Like, so I closed that door and that was it. I didn't feel bad about it. I didn't like bail on her. It was an organic no. And then I started into real estate. And here I am 8 years later.
Well, I don't think it's just here I am 8 years later. Let's be real, because everybody listening knows that there's more to the story. So, I mean, were you Rookie of the Year?
Yes. Okay. So I went into a no-name agency. I had interviewed all of the agencies out there and I had given my notice at the Times. I had a good ramp up period for me to stay at the Times as I transitioned while I was studying for the test. So I did all that. I put together a spreadsheet on which agency I'm going to go to, which brokerage am I going to join, how many houses am I planning on selling, how much am I going to make. And at that point, I was just studying the market. So there's book studying for the test, but I literally lived on Lab Coat Agents. For those of you who don't know that Facebook group page, it's a live conversation happening multiple times a day on different topics on that group page. And my kids were little at the time, and I would literally put them to bed at 8, and I would need to lay with them for them to fall asleep. So from like 8 to 9, 10 o'clock, I had 3 boys, and they all needed to fall asleep. 8 to 10 o'clock, I literally scrolled and read every post on Lab Coat Agents. I would just study what people were talking about, what issues they were mentioning. And that was my source of kind of getting my boots in the ground without getting my boots in the ground. So I started off the year. It was in an office that literally I turned the lights on when I went in and I turned the lights off when I left. There were no agents. It was a ghost town. It was an independent brokerage. But they gave me a good split and I was like, okay, well, this is a test of the times. I'm going to see how I do. If I do well, then I can go to a better brokerage, but I'm going to start here. And it happened to be right next to my son's daycare. So it was convenient. So I start off and I started with a program through Zillow, which is no longer available, but it was probably one of their cheapest programs on foreclosures. So this is 2016. They would just put my name as a ad on their foreclosed property in certain zip codes. And I just picked 2 to start with. And it was like a couple $100. Best investment I could have made. And I would get the lead. And 10 times out of 10 times, they never bought a foreclosure home. And we didn't even discuss the foreclosure that they called about. We discussed it. And then I basically converted them to go shopping with me. And we would go shopping. And my first year, I think I closed $3 or $4 million worth of business in my first year, which is, from what I understand, unheard of at that time. Like people don't close that much business within the first year. And it was a lot of trial by error. I did a lot of stupid things, but I didn't care. Like I didn't care I was doing stupid things, even when I found out that I was like, oh, I messed up or I did something wrong. Like I remember people would laugh, but I had a client who wanted a like $2 million house. So I would look up all the expired listings for $2 million listings. And I would call the agent instead of going to the owner out of respect to the agent because nobody taught me any better. So I would go to the agent and be like, so you had this listing on 123 Main Street for 2.3 and it expired like 2 years ago. And I was wondering, do you think your client is still interested in selling?
Oh my gosh.
hours, hours of calling of that. But like I didn't care. I was in the momentum. I was in the action. I was doing whatever I needed to do to get a product in front of my client to see. So there was a lot of stupid mistakes, but I think one of the things that really helped me is I am one persistent person. Like I am a very persistent person. So I don't give up very easily. I'm a hustler at heart. Like I started working at the age of 8 and I've held every job you can imagine, from pumping gas to being a receptionist to waiting tables and waiting, parties that we now attend. Like every time I go to a banquet party and there are servers, I'm like, I've been there.
Me
Been
too.
there, done that, all of it. Being a hustler at heart, being persistent and not being afraid to fuck up. Like it's all good. It's all good. I'm sorry I cursed, but it's all good. Like I am in this. And for me, it was like, there is no turning back. This is it.
At what point in your journey, when the train left the station and you're finding the success, your boys are young and you're juggling all the balls and you've got the energy of the workhorse there, but did there come a point at which you were like, there's got to be a way I could do this a little bit smarter? Because I also know you to have great systems and you've got some support in place. And I feel like in some ways, I feel like you are even more of an early adopter than a lot of people, especially the people that are listening. So What was that look like? I like to call it messy in the middle when it's like, wow, I'm so grateful. I'm closing all these transactions. I'm making more money than I ever expected, and I'm crumbling on the inside. So, did you navigate that at all? Did you experience that?
Totally. I was working all the time. I would run anytime who wanted to see a house. I had zero systems in place. I didn't have a database for my first couple of years. So 1 year in, when I realized my success, that's when I was like, okay, I don't belong in this brokerage. Like this brokerage is not doing anything for me. I'm doing everything for me. So where am I going to go? And the answer was so black and white and simple that Keller Williams was the spot that I was going to go to. I had a spreadsheet of all the agencies that interviewed prior to making the decision on where I was going to go. And when it was time to move, Keller Williams was the answer. And so I went to Keller Williams, hungry as hell. I attended every class that they offered. I talked to every person that was willing to talk to me. I got onto any coaching thing I could get onto, and I just consumed it. And I started applying whatever I could that made sense for me where I was in the business at that time. And sure enough, Keller Williams is very big on systems. I remember going to, I think it was mega camp or family reunion. They were like, pick one thing and just do that. Just pick one thing, take that home and apply that. Because otherwise you'll see 30 things and you want to do all of them and you're not going to do any of them, right? Or you'll do them mediocre. So I would just start with one thing. And I remember I don't know if it was a database or if it was my social media, like my branding. I think that's what it was. It was social media, like having a presence, and 2016 was not that long ago, but it was still long ago that it's not what it is today, the social media platform, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to build my brand. And I literally put myself out there on social media. Me, my kids, my family, my life, me, all of it, the entire package. And that served me really, really well. Like it was amplified on the fact that I was a realtor, the fact that I was a young mother, the fact that I had switched careers. I felt like there were so many people rooting for me, even if they didn't want to buy the house, but they bought my story. They bought into what I was trying to do. And I remember one time somebody even said to me, like, your branding's so interesting. Like your kids are a part of your brand. I'm like, hell yeah, they're on my payroll. Like it's all one big thing that I'm offering to you. And it makes it more real. I felt like I was able to resonate with people. I wasn't just this facade of perfection as a realtor. As much as we want to be buttoned up and look great and all that is great. But there was a authenticity I brought to the table that really helped me and served me well.
I know you mentioned this, like when you found Keller Williams, you attended every training, you went to the office, all the things, and we know each other through being a part of GoBundance. So I know that you understand the power of proximity and putting yourself in the room with people that are ahead of you in the game or remind you of your future or whatever. So was there any mentorship in your life that kind of helped guide you in that way towards investing in yourself and putting yourself in the room? Because it's not inexpensive the way that we invest in ourselves to grow as individuals and as business owners. I think it requires a faith, which you already said you have, but it also requires a level of decisiveness to say, I've decided I'm going to go there and I need to get around people that are already there or going there. So like, what was your journey like with that?
So to be honest with you, I think my husband was my biggest supporter in that. He believed in me more than I believed in me. When I was leaving the Times, everybody was like, you're doing what? You're leaving a job at the New York Times to become a realtor? Like, in my community, the realtor life isn't the path that they necessarily follow from an education and, standpoint. And I remember saying, Mom, it's not just a realtor. Like, I'm not just selling houses. I'm going to build a business. Even when I was making that switch, he was the one who's like, do it. Now is the time. And if it doesn't work, you can always come back to corporate. Do it. And he pushed me, even though I wasn't like sure. Because with an industry that has a 90% fail rate, I'm like, are we doing the right thing? Like, is this a big risk? And then furthermore, I remember being at actually a class at the Keller Williams office, financial mastery being taught by Bob Wells, who is a GoBundance GoBro. And again, the divine works in magical ways. So out of the entire room of 25 people, the class is wrapping up, we're almost done. And Bob goes, there's groups out there that you should look into. And I'm like, okay, what kind of groups? And he's like, there's M1, there's this, and I don't remember what he said. He's like, I'm part of GoBundance, and we're gonna have a spinoff of a women's group. And that time, the group did not exist for the women. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And I come home and I tell my husband, and then Bob sends me John Berghoff's information. Here's the guy. Talk to him. He's gonna facilitate it. I'm like, okay, great. My husband's like, you need to call him. I'm like, okay, sure. I call John. John's like, it's a masterminding group of women. It's really cool, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, John, I'm really not into the bitch sessions. I'm actually really good. I don't have a lot of girlfriends. I don't do these things, right? Because I had no idea. I had no idea what this world was. I feel like I took another birth when I came to Keller Williams, to be honest with you. It was a whole new me. And if I look back at what I was at the times, I was living life so small, so small. And so like these people came into my path, but then my husband was like the one to push and say, go do it, go experience it, go see it. And I flew out to San Diego because of his push, attended that. And here I am, 6 years later as a GoBundance member. And you're right, it's not cheap. And anytime I've questioned it, like, is this an expense we want? And he always goes back to, well, look at the value. It's value in you. And he's like my North Star, like reminds me. So I would say he's probably my coach or my mentor and the voice in my head that keeps me on the path and believing in myself.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because it's sometimes we want to know what we're going to get out of this, or I might hire an assistant, and what's this person going to do for me, and what if it goes wrong, all the things, right? So we want to know how it's all going to play out, but most of the magic in being guided, like you alluded to, is in the unscripted. And it's in the conversations you're having and passing, or you go to the conference or the retreat, or you attend the workshop, and you think you are going to know what you're signing up for, but you really never do,
Yeah.
because it's very unscripted. But there's definitely, it's almost like there's breadcrumbs along the trail. And
Yes.
so you can't see all the breadcrumbs, but like if you just follow the next breadcrumb, you might just
Yes.
be led to where you're supposed to be, which usually exceeds the expectation of what you thought it was supposed to look like, right?
I literally call people in my life my breadcrumbs. Like these people were all breadcrumbs along the way.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about, that's funny because I always say, well, that's random, but nothing's really random. So
No.
okay, so let's talk about RDR, repair, design, and reach, because I feel like when I learned that you were doing this, I had just met this agent in LA who was doing it as well. And I need to have her on the show too. But I just, in general, I was so blown away. Like I've said it multiple times already in this one short conversation about just the brilliance of it. And it's not just about brilliance, it's about value, and it's about seeing a need and then providing a solution that I find is, I believe, to be relatively uncommon, but absolutely just the smartest thing you could possibly do to move things forward in this particular market in general. And I'm also kind of curious if it has a place in your business forever at this point. So can you talk us through the birth of this idea? What was the first property? What happened? And then how has it kind of evolved into something that is almost like an auxiliary service that you offer to your clients?
I'm always looking at how I can stand out. Like I was just born to stand out. I'm not born to blend in visually, personality wise, right? And so even in my business, especially in a business like this, that's so saturated, everybody and their mother has a real estate license. What is going to set you apart, even of the top 10%? So my authenticity is definitely one of those things, right? My branding is one of those things. But beyond that, from a service standpoint, why would somebody want to work with me? What value am I going to give them that person B and C won't? And so I have a great contractor that I have built a relationship over the years. He's worked on my house, he's worked on our properties, and he has worked on my clients' assets, as they purchase. And I remember thinking one day, like, what if somebody wanted to work with a contractor? So step one is making an introduction, right? Like I have a great contractor, it's a preferred partner. Here's his number, you can call him, right? A lot of people can offer preferred vendors. Everybody's already have a list of preferred vendors. So that's not really differentiating what I'm offering here with him. So then I was like, okay, well, what if they want to do work and they don't have the money to do it, but they want to sell their house and then they're going to have the money? I was like, okay, if it's not a crazy amount, I can have a certain amount of capital that is allocated for that, and I'll put in the money up front. So the repair, design, and reach came up as like, what are the three things I'm going to offer? So repair was one, and I'll get into how that works. Design was the other aspect. So if you're selling, how can we use the design portion? And even if you're buying, how can we use it? And then the reach was, if you're selling, boots on the ground is amazing. But like, if you look at the stats, 85% of the buyers are coming from different places. They're not coming from the same town. Your neighbor is not buying your house 85% of the time. So really, you want an agent who's got access to cross state lines. So that was a reach aspect. And I wanted it to be catchy. So I like worked through it a little bit and finally came up with RDR as the brand. So the repair, let's talk about that. As a buyer, you can go into a house and be like, gosh, Amrita, I love this house, but I really hate these cabinets. And I don't like this wall. It closes up the room. I would love to knock this down. I don't know. This is all going to cost me $75,000. And I'm like, no, it's really not. And they're like, oh, okay. So right immediately, there's a misalignment on what they think it's going to cost to fix or make the things that they want, right? So then I was like, okay, that's pain point number one. And then, okay, point two is who's going to help them do it? And when are they going to get it done? The closing, this and that. And how much is it going to cost? And how do I figure out how much to offer as a buyer and take into account the expenses of the renovations, right? So for a buyer, what I would do is I'd bring my contractor into play immediately. We're going to go see the house. The contractor is going to meet us there. You're going to tell me the 5 things that you want to do. Contractor is going to go home, give me a price on those 5 things. And now you know those 5 things are going to cost you X. Now, when we write the offer 18 hours later, you know you can account for that X in your offer when you make it, and you can negotiate accordingly. Now you've got a full picture and there's no guessing game on how much it's going to cost when making the offer. So now as a buyer, you feel a lot more confident in the offer because there's no guesswork. You know exactly what it's going to cost. And if we need to finagle around because we're in a competitive market, you need to give a little bit more. Okay, don't do all 5 things at once. Do 2 now and then 2 next year and then the one last third year. So that's how it helped the buyers. And then from a listing standpoint, you've got a house to sell. I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, you need to paint the whole house. It's going to cost you at least $5,000 to finish top to bottom. And they're going to say, okay, great, but I don't have the money. I'll have it when I close, but I don't have it now. And I'm like, okay, opportunity. I'll give you that $5,000. And I'm going to give you a contract that says, when we close, you're going to give me that back. Has nothing to do with my commission. I'm just giving you a small loan to make this happen. And I remember the first time I did it was with a divorce attorney partner of mine sent me this referral. Couple's getting divorced. Wife has 0 money. Husband's got some money, but doesn't want to cough it up all at the, I could sense, right? When you interview and do a consult, you can sense where things are. And I was like, okay, great. I need you to paint the house. I'm going to stage it. So that's a design part. We're going to list it. So we're going to paint it. We're going to stage it. And I'm going to reach out to people across state lines. And that's how we're going to get it sold for top dollar. That's the pitch. He's like, okay, great. But I don't have, and for his house, it was 6,000. And he's like, I don't have it. I was like, great. I'm going to put it together a contract. I'm going to pay my contractor. Don't worry. When you close, you pay me back. He's like, that's great. I love that. Where do I sign? Done. Put together a contract, had my attorney review it, shared it with them. Is it a risk? Yes. But in the contract, it says, if you don't close, you still owe me this money. Now, is it a risk that I'm going to get it or not? I don't know. Yes, of course, everything is a risk. But it was worth the risk depending on, I assess the situation and where it makes sense to offer it. And if I feel like it's safe enough, I will do it. And I've done it a few times now, and it's worked out really well for me.
It's so smart. Now, I've heard some agents that have done something similar, but there's also negotiation around the fact that we can sell it as is, and this is going to be your profit. We can do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to make you an extra $60,000 in profit. It's going to cost us, X, which I can fund up front. And then there's an agreement to a percentage of that extra profit for you being the person that takes on the risk. Is that something you've ever considered for the future?
I haven't gotten to that point where I've considered that, but that is something interesting that I'd be open to considering. Right now, I feel like everyone who is looking to sell is so motivated to sell. I haven't had people who are on the fence. Either you're in or you're out. I haven't had in the middle people where I've had to convince them and try to do something different.
So, as the future stands, what are you most excited about right now with I just love the way your brain works. It's like opportunity, solution. And also, I know you're kind of a futuristic forward thinker. So, is there anything on the horizon in terms of your speaking career, your investing, your real estate sales, motherhood, all the things all the hats you wear,
Yeah.
that you're really excited about?
I am definitely pursuing the speaking a lot more. In fact, I'm in conversations with the local college in town, and we'll be going to speak to the School of Business there to talk about you can get your degree, you can pursue your degree, but there's so much more. I feel like I wish I had, a little bit of this knowledge that I have now, or if somebody came to my school and talked about the opportunities beyond the degree. Go, I'm not saying don't get the 9 to 5. If that's your bit, if that works for you and that soothes your soul, go do that. But if it's not fulfilling, don't sit in that seat on that bus for 10 years before you wake up. I wish I had woken up sooner. So sometimes you need to change the seat on the bus, and other times you need to change the bus. That's what I want to talk about so that people are aware there are options. There are other things that you may not be thinking about. And there's a whole world out there of people like the GoBundance, Grow Bros, and women, M1, and people who are playing at such a different level. Like I get goosebumps thinking about it. And the fact that I have access to that, I'm a part of that. Like I remember going to the first meeting and was thinking like, I don't belong here. They have no idea. Like I'm on the wrong bus here. I'm in the wrong
Same.
town on the bus. I wasn't, it was my bus. It was my town and I was going to ride the shit out of it. Like it was going to be good.
Yep. I've learned that imposter syndrome is 100% a good sign. It's my friend because I felt the exact same way. And I hope that everybody listening can seek out the rooms where you feel just a little bit uncomfortable because it's like, that what did Mel Robbins said, let them show me the way. So she
Yeah.
talked about comparisonitis and how it can be a dangerous thing because it can make you feel worse and more inferior or more frustrated by where you're not,
Yeah.
or it can inspire you. And if you are curious enough to allow it to inspire you, then when you're in a room where you feel like you might be out of place, that's the indication that you can let them show you the way. If they can do it, so can you. And
Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing, that if any of us can do it, and it sounds cliche, but truly, if you could have seen us, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, before. And to your point, it's funny what you said about sometimes you need a different bus, because I remember having the best month of my career at one point. I think it was 2019, but something was missing. I could not put my finger on it. And I called my coach at the time and I said, I don't know. I just feel like I've moored a ship to port and I'm on the wrong island. Like I
Yeah.
was so proud of myself because I'd gotten us to the destination that I thought was the thing that was going to give me that sense of fulfillment. And there was still something missing and I could not put my finger on it. And that was the best way I could articulate it. And yeah, I did change islands eventually, a couple years later. But at that time, at that crossroads, there's always small decisions that can be made to start to pivot the direction. Like you said, change seats on the bus or get on a different bus. But it doesn't have to always be completely uprooting your life and changing your career. It could just mean that you've achieved a level that is now ready for a promotion. And in self employment, that's a challenging thing because we feel the need to hold on to everything that we've been doing to get us to this point. But it might be just time, like in other industries, where you take that promotion and
Yeah.
you learn to graduate from the things that are kind of weighing you down, even though they interested you in the past. Maybe they don't interest you anymore because you're not the same person you were when you started.
Right.
So I think it's just being awake and receptive to the evolution. And that's what keeps us interested. And I think being interested is really important.
Yeah. And being okay with failing at it as well. Like you could try something and completely face forward fall, like, and be like, okay, I know I'm not going to do that one again. Like you definitely learned something from it, right? So there has to be a certain level of comfort with failing.
Oh, yeah. We got to pull that gravel right out of our teeth and get up and keep going. Oh my gosh. Well, Amrita, I love you and I appreciate you. If folks want to find you, follow you, get a hold of you, what's the best way to do so?
I'm all over social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on IG, I'm on Facebook, and I'm a text away. Email Amrita at falcongroup.homes and Mawa Real Estate by Amrita on social media.
I love it. And if anybody's listening and you need a speaker for your next event to inspire your team, your business, your community, your all the people, then you've got somebody to call now because you can add Amrita to your arsenal of awesome.
Appreciate it.
And to all my listeners out there, thank you as always for tuning in. You know how much I love and appreciate your support. If you are enjoying this content, please stop whatever you're doing right now and leave that 5-star review because it really does help us continue to attract the amazing guests we have here and help this content get found so more people can build a life you don't need a vacation from. I love you. I appreciate you, and I will see you next time.